8/18/22. So if we have any questions or concerns about their last minutes, so we can raise the questions. If not any, we'll move to item number 5. So that's for me. Program updates. Again, I'll thank you everyone for coming here today in person. So let's all try to meet in person. So probably we'll not do every meeting in person, maybe alternate or see how it goes. So I love to have, its output is very good when you meet people, talk and discuss rather than all these electronic texting and Zooms and stuff. I know it's new way to held the meetings, but so program updates. One thing was in mind is like our town is growing, population is growing, and recently, if you're watching, we got a construction going on Orlando for a bunch of apartments. I think 380 apartments in first phase. Yeah, and then second phase, we have some new houses, detached home, start building other side of the creek. Uh, Other approvals from the county for the set of apartments on south of Grand Line. So we have got a lot of high density housing coming up in Mountain House. So for that, I think we have to step up for planned security and how we can handle all those high density issues which may arise when these people move into these apartments. That's it for me. And next one is item 6 is a report on Neighborhood Watch program for Mr. Elbridge.
Thank you, Director. I'm going to pull up a PowerPoint.
Yeah. I'm not seeing
Are you seeing it now? All right, let's try that again.
Okay.
Okay.
Selection.
So currently there are neighborhoods of College Park, Cortez, Hanson, and Bethany. They are in the process of setting up neighborhood watch group meetings. And I just actually finalized one in Cortez. So that will be on October 14th. And there are a few more that are finalizing the date and time of when they would like to have the meeting. And what's really nice is there's a couple different groups in College Park. So that's a new neighborhood, and there's a lot of excitement down there to start having neighborhood watch groups and meetings. So that's a good thing. And most of these contacts came from all of the events here in Mountain House, the 4th of July celebration, the Indian Independence Day celebration, music in the park. So we've been out there trying to recruit more people. So that's it for the neighborhood watch update. And the next would be item number 7 on the agenda, which is crime prevention and graffiti. So there's been an increase in graffiti and vandalism in a couple of the parks. A little bit in Wickland, and there's been quite a bit in Bethany. So the majority of the incidents are occurring at the Puente Drive Bridge in Bethany, and there's been a little in the Main Street Bridge out here. So most of it is graffiti. Some of it has been actual physical damage in the bathrooms, and that has been at the Southwest Creek Trail that's at Las Brisas Drive and Altura Court. As you can see in the photos, most of the damage.
It's not showing, yeah, it's not showing on that screen. It is showing on the Zoom.
Yeah, I think it timed out.
Yeah, just go down.
Oh, there we go. You can see some of the pictures there, the quite a bit of graffiti. The two on the far right are the Main Street Bridge. The other ones are from the Puente Bridge. So some of the, I guess, solutions could be signage. So that's one thing we may be able to discuss of what a solution is for that. Let's see, and with crime prevention, I'll bring up an incident that occurred at the library this past weekend. So there was an incident with a couple unruly, disruptive juveniles that were creating an issue and yelling profanities, vulgar profanities, and the librarian didn't really know what to do and eventually flagged down, I believe it was a rank security guard out front. And at that point, the kids took off and they came back later and proceeded with their unruly behavior. So I reached out to rank and I CC'd also the sheriff's department. So Rank's going to conduct extra patrols. I believe they said at least 3 during the day, a couple in the morning, midday, and then in the evening. So hopefully we don't have any further issues. So that may be something we can also discuss is, you know, the security or safety of the library. And
We don't have any cameras in the that view the
that's
library.
Oh, here, let me move down to the signage for item number 8, since it's all consecutive. So these are some of the examples for the signage. Some of these issues or some of the signage is for future blight problems that we expect when the Safeway and that shopping center opens up. So this, some of the signage right here in the middle on the top, that's actually from other cities. So that's the signage they're having and that's how they're combating blight. And it, not saying it works 100%, but they're having positive impacts in some areas. So here's another on the bottom, the signage for graffiti is something we can do, post under the bridges or in the areas where we're having quite a bit of graffiti and vandalism. And the bottom right, I know it's cut off, but it's a business watch sticker. So we have some ordered and we are going to hand them out to businesses so they can post it on their windows and entryways where it's visible and develop a business watch similar to a neighborhood watch where we have different businesses looking out for each other. Let's see, public safety planning calendar. So I would like to create an event for the public. So I know the date and time's a little bit cut off. So it's a trunk or treat event in the back parking lot of Town Hall on Sunday, October 30th, between 4 and 6 p.m. So that is right after Director Sue has his Halloween parade. So I think that would be a good time to plan it right after that event. So once the children are done with the Halloween parade, then they could come over to the town hall and get some candy. So we'll be giving away candy. We have stickers. We have our usual McGruff stickers, and we also have McGruff Halloween stickers to hand out. Let's see, we have the pencils, we have the light up bracelets for the kids. So that way, if they're walking around in the evening, at least for that evening, or if they wish to save it for Halloween, they can use it and be a little bit more visible. And we also have Halloween bags that we're going to hand out. So that will help them for the following day when they get hopped up on candy. So the only thing I would need is just, I think, volunteers, and maybe if we would like to host it as the Public Safety Committee, if we can get volunteers, that sounds good. And if we would like to open it up to other residents, if they would like to, drive their car and into the parking lot and, be part of the event, give out candy from their trunks. So we have multiple people giving out candy aside from the Public Safety Committee. So I think that would be good. And October is Crime Prevention Month. It's the National Crime Prevention Month. So I'll be putting out different posts on our social media, kind of to raise a little bit of awareness with the residents and hopefully push more residents to create or join neighborhood watch groups. So let me skip down to the bottom. So this will be our post on social media for the trunk or treat event. It's not posted yet, so once we get confirmation that it's something we would like to do, and then we'll reach out to the public of who would like to join, and I'll post it and hopefully get a good turnout.
Can I throw something in on that?
Yes.
And that is that if you, okay, I'm, go ahead.
Right button.
So what I'd like to throw out is if you invite the public to participate in this, bringing their own cars and doing their own trunk or treat, you will be amazed at the inventiveness and the creativity that people put into their cars for this. So I would suggest that you have a contest for the best decorated car, and that'll really inspire a lot more people as well. And you give them a couple pumpkins or something like that for their prize for first place. But I've seen these things grow from almost nothing to humongous events over a few years, and an awful lot of people really get into it. And it's a lot of fun, and it's a good community builder. So I would say you might want to throw that contest in there and see if how many people bite on it.
Sounds good.
Also, on those posters, we should have our CSD logo all the time, because some people think that some other, organizations are doing this. So we use taxpayers' money, so our logo should be there. Any of the event we does it from the CSD. Yeah, and we should promote at the CSD, not some other organizations. So sometimes those organizations, they take credit out of our work. And that's pretty much. And also we can use CERT members. We got a lot of CERT members in Mountain House. Like give them opportunity to work on trunk and treat or trick and treat event on that day. Right. So we need a cooperation from the fire department.
Absolutely, so they can bring Sparky out, and then Sparky and McGruff can have a dance off. And with the trunk or treat, I was going to go to different businesses and solicit donations for some of the candy. I would imagine we're going to have a decent turnout. Any questions or other input? Yes.
Here.
So I just, this is Tejdeep Ratan. So you mentioned something about the vandalism and possible, solutions to that. Do folks know what kind of misdemeanor it is? What kind of punishment they can have if they're caught? Do people know about that?
It sounds like it's kids, because most of the time that people have been caught in action have been juveniles. So probably not, or if they do, they're just not thinking about the consequences like most kids.
Yeah, of course, the kids, I mean, they're part of the family over here. But if folks know this is a misdemeanor and what the consequences can be, maybe they'll think twice about this. I'm just looking it up. What is the penalty of for graffiti in the US, right? Or what makes vandalism a felony in California? It's $10,000 fine, a year in jail. You know, they can have property damages they have to pay, a whole bunch of stuff. So maybe Mountain House Matters can jump in. You guys can spend some money on that. Say, hey, vandalism, all this happened. This is what you're going to get if you're caught. I think it'll deter a lot of people.
Yeah, that's a
Just to
good
make the
idea.
property look a little nicer and stuff like that. That's one of the ways.
And we
can
could add some
possibly-
social media posts.
I think that
for
would
education.
definitely work. Yeah. Over.
So anyone else got any viewpoints on that? Go ahead. Pull up that. Yeah.
Just to follow up on what TJ said, by the way, I'm Amrit Chima. I was going to ask on those slides for the signs. First of all, do we have any cameras and knowledge of who did this, or is there any way to capture that in those, all the camps that we have around the city? Is that the area that we can know, you know, the perpetrators of that event, of the graffiti and all that stuff, or is it too far in the trenches to
No, we don't have any
no evidence?
specific cameras for those specific locations.
Right. The second is on the other side that you had, Roger, about a bunch of different sites.
Here, I'll pull it
Light.
back up. I'll pull the slide back up.
Just curious, we gonna have a whole bunch of different ones from this to be chosen, or one, or multiple ones going on different sites, or these signs?
Well, I mean, that's something we can discuss
Okay.
of what signage would work best and what would fit the regulations in Mountain House.
These are the choices that we can kind of sort of have from different cities. And 211, now, how does that work? I'm not too familiar with that. So I think that sign would be really nice to have somebody be able to call 211 and report and things like that. Versus others which basically deterrent kind of thing, or knowledge, but there's an action on that one.
Right. So 211 is the phone number for social services in each of the counties. So for those that don't know, but that is actually, that's the reason I put that in there. I thought that was a good idea.
I like that. Right.
So instead of, just saying no, or, the penalties, it offers a solution,
Right.
which is good.
Thank you.
Just contrary to what we are talking about, these are our own kids. Can we make that bridge a graffiti bridge? If the punks want to go do something, they can go have fun, make it look nice. There are other ways of dealing with the same problem as well, too. I mean, you can slap them, or you can a little bit help them out a little bit.
So
Go-
encourage the creativity.
Yeah, become creative.
Yeah.
Maybe the drawings of genitalia and whatnot like that, we might want to filter a few of those things, but
Yes, sir.
I think that's a very positive type of thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways to solve this problem. Either we can have the cops go after them, or we can just say, hey, you know what? You want to be an artist? Why don't you make our community look good? Draw something positive. We'll come and look at it later on, or something like that. And we can put restrictions on what they cannot draw up there, because other kids are going to go watch it, look at it, and things of that sort. That's just 2 cents again. 2 ways of doing it. Over.
I think one of the things that you can bring up along those lines too is that they would submit a sketch of what it is that they want to do, and then they get their the sketches approved. We give them their space, and obviously this is a very rough idea right now, and you're going to have a lot of hurdles to get over to get it approved. But if it's a citizen generated idea, then it should be looked at.
I think they have their favorite areas where they do it. I think there's 4 or 5 places in Mountain House. Is the gazebo okay these days? Wickland gazebo?
There has been graffiti around the gazebo and the playground over there. I don't think it's been as extensive as the bridge under the Puente Drive Bridge.
And I think Sergeant Ward can uh, uh, give us some idea that what's the protocol? What do you do when these kind of things are reported? You can come here, please.
Plus, I got a lot of voice.
I was going to say in Long Beach, but
I've never been accused of being quiet.
in Long Beach, about 30 years ago, we had some folks doing massive property damage around town with graffiti. And we sponsored, the police department, working with the city, sponsored a graffiti contest. And we were able to figure out whose art was what, and we arrested the guys who were the worst abusers, so.
Yeah.
Roger, can you go back to the graffiti slide, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so I can tell you, there's a handful of those. It's probably been the same kids for a good 10 years, give or take, because it started in mud when I was here as a deputy, and they were literally just using mud down there. So my suggestion is if you were going to do like graffiti wall, that would not be the place to do it. And the only reason I say that is a very out of the way hidden place. It's obscure. It is almost, unless my guys actually physically walk down into the canal, it's almost impossible to see from the street. Typically your graffiti walls, they're going to be in your more high visible areas. Like let's say you had a handball court and you want to do like the handball wall, perfect spot because it's highly visible. You can put a camera on it because the problem that you're also going to have is once you create this art piece, you don't want somebody coming in and putting that on top of it. I'm saying, because now it's much more difficult to clean an art piece than it is a wall because this relatively easy to, it's going to take time and it's going to cost money, but it's relatively easy. You're just going to paint over the whole thing. Most places that I see in the county where you have items like this, we do our best. Well, the county does their best to try to restrict the access to those places because I can tell you those two areas have been problems for the sheriff's office since Bethany was built. Since the bridges went in and Bethany started becoming an actual community, which is funny enough, actually right after I started. It's been a pain ever since. We have had everything from the graffiti to other crimes. Typically it's kids. I know Roger and I had talked about this. My suggestion was try to figure out a way to restrict the access to underneath there at least. What I was talking to Roger about is once it's cleaned up, if they'll let me know, I can see if our AgNet units, cameras are going to be available again. They're the same cameras that I deployed out on the model hubs in Cuesta that we're getting broken into. And that weekend, we caught them because we get an automatic alert text message when they're alerted. And at least we know when somebody's down there at that point. Here soon, there is, I'm getting quotes to figure out how much it's going to cost because I think in the future, I'd like to get some specifically for Mountain House that the sheriff's office employs. That way, I don't have to beg, borrow, and steal from a whole nother division because if they're using it for their own assignments, obviously I take a back seat. This would honestly be if I can find a place to put them, it'd be a perfect deployment. Once again, when we do find the people involved, it's really, there's no clear cut, this is the way it works. And I'm gonna be realistic because if it's some 10-year-olds, we're realistically going to go back to their parents and we're going to have a talk with their parents, educate them on what their kid's doing. We're going to identify them. We take pictures of all the tagging that they've done. That way, hopefully, if they do continue, we can compare. That report would then go over to the CSD, and then the CSD wants, then they can actually go after the parents for the damages. Obviously, as that individual gets older, our response to them gets a little different. You know, when you start to get to be 15, 16, 17, you know the difference between right and wrong, and you know what you're doing is not, this is not right, and you're not helping the community in that aspect. And that's where we start doing the citations, and they'll get cited out to mom and dad. We don't just let them walk away. With vandalism, I want to say that the dollar amount is still $400 if I remember right. So under $400 is a misdemeanor. Over $400 is actually a felony, which is a significantly higher fine. And like I said, it all depends on their age, you know, and stuff like that as well. And, you know, we're not trying to make every person a criminal. If it's some kid that honestly doesn't have a rap sheet, you know, we do have the discretion at, you know, and that's where my deputies do have a lot of leadway when it comes to kids. They are basically the ultimate of, you know, end all be all, whether they want to counsel that child and do a, you know, that teenager and do a report, or cite that individual, or if it meets the criteria, you know, taking them to juvenile hall, which is very rarely the case unless it's just some kid that's completely out of control that we deal with on a regular basis, because we do have those as well. So that would be my suggestion on it. Actually, I like the idea of having an area for artwork. I think a lot of it does look very nice. You can make it look nice, but I would suggest that that's the case. We do a little bit more thought process. Where does this go, and how do we showcase that piece? Because if you're going to do something like that, I would really hate to put something like that a lot of people are going to put a lot of time and effort and hide it underneath a bridge. You know, that potentially is going to just completely get destroyed over the years. So that would be my suggestion. But yeah, I with this as well as the library, I'll actually be in Monday, and I'm going to go over there and have a talk with staff over there and make sure that they know what they should be doing.
Yeah, those were like 10, 11, 12-year-olds.
Oh yeah, either way, I mean, if they have a problem, or like if you catch somebody, if you see somebody, call the sheriff's office. You know, we're pretty good about our response times here in Mountain House. Just on the off chance we are on another call, if it's a priority, yeah, it's going to take us a minute to get there, but for the most part, our response times are pretty quick, and that way we can know what's going on and we can get involved. I think that there has been kind of a hiccup here and there where we've had a lot of people, instead of calling the sheriff's department, they're calling the security. And then that information is being relayed over. Actually got to the point where schools were actually calling rank security, and we're going, no, you don't, no, you need to call us. You know, we're the ones that actually need to know about, you know, we need to know about this, and we actually are the ones that get involved with it and take the crime reports. So there has been a little bit, I think it's some confusion with the community as to who does what and who do you call for what, because we've had a lot of confusion from the community that asks us as well, because they'll pull us to the side and want to know, hey, I called the security company, why didn't you guys come out? We're going, I have no idea what you're talking about. You know, and so it's been hit and miss. We've been working with rank, and I think we have most of that ironed out, but it would greatly increase the response if our dispatch got that versus it going to their dispatch then now deploying to them and then calling us at the same time. It kind of adds a lot of time to that clock that's ticking. But yeah, and like I said, I've emailed Roger in regards to the graffiti. Signs are great. I mean, they are a deterrent. Putting in the information out there is going to deter a small amount, and that's good. I mean, any amount that we can deter is great. But I think the largest deterrent you're ever going to have is making sure that people know that we're monitoring this area. And that's where sometimes it's almost better to not go with a covert camera, but to go with an overt camera that people know, hey, we're watching. And I know sometimes we do dummy cameras. I'm more of a proponent, if we're going to spend the money, I would rather have a functioning camera that if something does happen, people aren't looking at me going, hey, but there's a camera right there. I'm going, I'm sorry, it doesn't work, So yeah, and that would be my thing is I think that area, especially those two areas, especially, they have for a long time have needed some kind of, surveillance. That way we can at least take a look at it and we can not just come back and fix the problem, but we can actually try to figure out who's creating the problem for us and we can get involved with that.
Something like that happened in the parks as well too.
Yes.
Where they were just kind of drawing things on the swings and things like that.
Yep.
And I did point that out in the last few meetings. And that was fixed right away. Now, you said it's going to cost a lot of money to fix that. Can community get involved and fix it over weekend? One or two?
That would actually be with your CSD. That's.
I think one of with graffiti, the most important thing is speed and to get it removed quickly. And we haven't had a lot in the past. So most mid-sized communities have a full-time crew that does nothing but paint out graffiti. So we don't need one is the good news. The bad news is then it's a little more challenging when we do need to take it out.
So we have like few places right now, and we don't want that these kids or youth move to another place to, start vandalizing other areas. We had issues in past with Costa, if you remember, like 2 months ago, they were drawing something, writing some messages on the concrete, right? So if we don't catch them right now, we don't be strict on this, they will move and start doing, on other areas too.
Yeah, we did get that out the next day, and so it hasn't come back.
Yeah. So this one, if you watched, I personally been there, you see a lot of alcohol containers, beers.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so that's a bridge where if you're walking on the bridge, you don't see anyone being visible there. So probably we can.
We should talk about
the
the nuisance, nuisance abatement.
So, yeah, so let's work on this thing in a couple months, if we can come up with a solution. That would be good.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good suggestion that we certainly need diversionary programs. And I've done other places I've worked where we've got areas under construction. We work with the builders, a lot of times they have areas, just with plywood. And sometimes we work with local kids and we actually get all the plywood and make it artwork. And you allow the kids to paint, and then they get to keep the plywood after they bring it down. And there's a lot of programs like that. I think that goes back to, it will be good, I think, as we evolve here to have a discussion within this group. It's too bad Sebastian's not here. He had mentioned the Boys and Girls Club. But I think frankly, having a group that's not us, but is a local group dedicated to youth, I can tell you that group has a lot more flexibility than, not that like we're a big bureaucracy, but I think it's easier, frankly, for a nonprofit to come in and get volunteers to work with the kids than it is the city district saying, we want you to come help with the kids. But, as I've told Director Dillon, we'll do everything we will certainly put our bandwidth into helping to create that type of organization that gives something for the kids to do. I think it's something we're very interested in. And as I told you, I think there might even be potential locations for a facility. And, we've got I think some of those neighbor shop, in Altamont and Cuesta, for example, those neighborhood shopping centers will probably sit there forever, but they'd be great for putting in a Boys and Girls Club or something like that. They'd be right across from the school. You could have after school programs in there and other activities and things like that. So I think we just have to figure out a way to corral the right people to get interested. It'll help to start having a business community as well, because sometimes they can play a role in that. But next time I talk to Shea Commercial, maybe I can talk to them about some of their boarded up facilities, whether we could even put art in the windows or something like that. Because once the Safeway opens, and if hopefully the switchgear will show up by December, I think it's still on a boat somewhere. I mean, they're done with Safeway pretty much. They just can't can't turn on all the compressors and things yet because of lack of, supply chain issues. But once it opens, there'll probably be about half the space empty. So we might have some opportunities, maybe even to do something in some of the storefront windows with them in the short run, because people will be walking from Starbucks over to Safeway along a lot of vacant storefronts. So
The one
idea,
thing I really like just what Sergeant Ward told. So we need to educate the community that in case of emergency, what number to call. They know that they call 911, but they're calling, he's right. They're calling non-emergency number on some emergency cases, and they're calling rank security or something. So I think we should educate the community, maybe send the messages out. So like this incident happened in library, they should call 911.
we can put that, we can talk to,
Right.
we can put that in the newspaper. We can put it in our section. We can put it on the front of the webpage also,
So-
just a reminder.
Yeah, so it's their responsibility to
It'd be
be,
good. Talk about Mountain House manners.
respond to, instead, some other agency, which is not, they're
Yeah.
responsible, but actually they have to go in investigation,
Yeah,
right?
right. Yeah, we can get that information out.
Anything else on these agenda items from 6 to, okay, go ahead.
I have another question for you guys. Sorry, got a bunch of questions over here. So in case of emergency, in Mountain House, what are all the means available to get in touch with people besides Mountain House? Can we text people?
Are any of you signed up for Nixle or any of those programs? Have we talked about that before,
Could you
Roger?
spell
or
that
no?
for me, sir? What was that again?
Charlie can maybe help with this.
Yeah, I don't know that you're on Nixle. Is your question if there's a fire, there's an incident?
Any emergency.
Right. For
Well,
Or
if it's a
reverse
public safety
911.
emergency, you dial 911. That is
Okay.
the only number people
I
should
thought
be
you were
dialing.
talking about if there's
It-
a public emergency, the whole community needs to know.
Okay,
about.
let
Is
me
that
take a
what you're
step
asking?
back. So like, for example, communicating with the community.
Right,
Call 911 when this incident happened in the library.
yes.
I have no clue about it. I live in Mountain House, right? So this is how I find out that it happened.
Oh, mhm.
Is there, besides Facebook, is there like a text which is sent to, the community members, hey, this happened. If this happened around you, call 911. That kind of information, little snippets and stuff like that. Do we have any means of communicating with the people of Mountain House?
Go ahead, Charlie.
Yeah, and I think Mountain House could set up a Nixle account. And what Nixle is it is a text program where the agency can send notifications out. Typically, it would not be used on something like the incident at the library. It's more along the lines, there's a traffic crash, avoid the area. There's a police action taking place, avoid the area. It's
Heat
that-
alerts, a lot of times heat alerts go on there,
Yeah.
things like that.
Heat
Or
alerts,
the
cold alerts,
disaster.
that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
For the disaster, something that's okay,
but right, as
Yeah.
far as minor incidents.
Not necessarily
though,
the level of a disaster, but it's just getting information out to the group so that you can avoid an area. Or if a school goes into lockdown, they could do a Nixle alert, although that's a whole nother issue, whole nother agency.
Otherwise, there's a reverse 911 as
Yeah.
well, where they can do,
Yeah.
if it's a real emergency, they can fence off on the GIS an area and make automated calls.
The appropriate method to get the information out on an incident like the library to let your community know about it would be the sheriff's office social media, the crime prevention social media, that kind of stuff, because that's not something that requires immediate action on the part of the citizens.
What
Yeah.
if there's a drill going on in the school? Let's say there is a active shooter drill going on. I don't know if you guys have that or not. Is that communicated to all the people so
No.
they know there's something going on?
No, in fact, you don't want to
You
communicate
don't
that
wanna
because
communicate
then it,
Done through Lambertville School District.
yeah.
Yeah.
That is a completely different ball. That's to be
Right, if they have
Yeah.
issues where they have their own reverse 911 that they can do.
Well, and most,
They have their own thing. So there's a lockdown, whether it's a lockdown, whether it's a training or what have you, that all comes from their side and their procedures. So you actually have two separate
Yeah.
entities. You have this board, which is CSD, and then you have the school district has their own board
yeah,
that kind of dictates how the schools,
And I don't know what their procedures are. I can tell you what the procedures are in a number of school districts in San Joaquin County. And what they're supposed to do if they go into a lockdown is once things are stabilized, they tell the kids, text your parents and tell them everything's okay, because they're going to be doing it anyway. You want to kind of control the information that's going out. We just had an incident in Manteca, actually 2 incidents recently, where we had intruders on a campus. East Union had one where and the kids are texting before, and then people are, they're calling their parents, and the parents are going crazy. They're trying to get through onto the campus to retrieve their kid while it's in the midst of a lockdown. And so a lot of it, and hopefully Lammersville has done this, is they try and educate their students and their parents. If it is a lockdown, you got to stay out, because you're creating a bigger problem by trying to penetrate the
They usually
lockdown.
don't tell you they tell you after the lockdown
Yeah.
actually
typically.
wasn't that long ago. I know it's before I came out, that was the first beginning of the year. They actually had a bomb scare at the high school, and
Right at the
you talk
beginning.
about mass freaking chaos. And majority of it was not from the school district side as far as like the lockdown. It was from the community side, because everybody wants to rush in and not realize that, hey, we need to take a step back, and I'll be honest, I had the same issue. It's been years ago, and I don't foresee it changing. We had somebody come in, and as they called us and say, hey, my child's missing, they put it on Facebook, and bless everybody's hearts, they all come out there, but they come out with their kids. And the next thing you know, well, my guys are out at night looking for a child walking around. You can now understand how it gets more difficult, because if everybody stays where they're at, especially in a commuter town like this, it'd be easy for me to pick up a kid on a drone or wherever. But when everybody brings them and their kids out, because they don't want to leave their kids home, it gets chaotic, because now I don't know whose kid is whose. No one really knows whose kid is whose. And people are like walking out. We literally had to like force the door shut and be like, no one's coming back in this house, because they're going in and out of our scene. And it becomes almost chaotic at that point. So we try to watch what we put out until we get things stabilized. We normally, when we need assistance as far as like, hey, have you seen this? Have you seen that? That's going to be completely after the case. Like, hey, we have an incident at this date, at this time, in this location. If anybody's seen anything that's part of this, please call the sheriff's office. And normally we'll even give you a deputy's name to talk to, because that's who's going to be the one handling the case. But that's typically, but those are normally like your larger cases, like somebody's really got hurt, where we're really trying to get as much information as humanly possible. Because when that goes out,
I'm knocking on wood now. You brought that up.
Yeah.
The hardest thing for a parent to do is sit back and wait.
Yeah.
But you've got to trust the schools, and you got to trust the law enforcement agencies, because you'll expend more manpower trying to keep the kids, the parents out and from getting in the middle of it and creating a worse situation that's already there. And it has got to be the hardest thing for a parent to do.
But as far as reporting, they provide monthly reports in the agenda packet, and then they'll give you the current month, this month, last year to date, this year to date, so that once a month we can see the level of activity in the community in about 40 different areas of all the different types of calls for service that they perform. So all that is disclosed. The fire department also does a fairly extensive report once a month as well. And then again, as he said, with other communications, there's these other methods, reverse 911, things of that nature. We could consider Nixle or something like that, but you have to get people to sign up for it to do Nixle. So it's good for the people who want to stay informed. I don't know, could they sign up now for Nixle through the sheriff's office, or do you know?
That I don't know. I know that.
Or use one of the other
we do have
programs.
a way- I forget what program it is, but I do know a way. It's not a sign-up program. If
Mhm.
we, depending on what the case is, like a missing child, we can actually pinpoint an area and it will hit every.
That's a
phone
reverse.
number
That's a
associated in
that's a
that
reverse.
area.
Amber
911.
alert is there,
Yeah,
so.
reverse 911.
I've been out of it for a few years. That's become less effective because very few people have landlines. So now they have to rely on the geolocation on your cell phone.
Yeah, you don't always know when everybody in town's got a 408 cell phone.
Yeah, yeah.
Anybody?
Okay, thank you very much, Sergeant Ward.
Forgot about that.
Anything else we have? Any members got any question? Rajesh, Amrit, Navjot, on this items we have discussed from 7 to 10, or actually 6 to 10? I got one question for Mr. Roger. So how many neighborhood watch groups has been set already?
Established with meetings that have actually in conjunction with the district.
Mhm.
I believe it's 6 thus far.
6 are already fully set up, right?
Yes. And there are, probably about another 6 to 7 pending.
Okay.
Trying to work out
Actu-
a date and time for the first group meeting.
So really appreciate you did great job in, setting up these neighborhood watches in, couple, 3 months. But it took us like almost a year to just, educate people and, really start it. But now we are at the point that people will come itself and ask to join. That's the way to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brett.
And any other questions? No? So let's get to item 10, previous discussions and updates. So again, commercial development security issues, probably again, Roger and Chris, right?
There are no issues that I know of. We kind of covered some of it of kind of preemptive strike on some of the maybe crime or blight in the new shopping center with signage. So as that center develops, I will contact the businesses and start a business watch.
Okay. Go ahead.
Quick comment on that one. I think one of the issues when we brought that up was about them installing cameras, and I think there has been updates on that, maybe for the benefit of the audience as well too. Steve, have they agreed on, we're asking them to put up the right kind of equipment for cameras and stuff like in those centers? A couple of them, is there an agreement that we've had with them now that they will do that, or is there any promises for security surveillance cameras, and that might feed into our system as well too,
I'm not
commercial?
aware of any
I
of
remember
the
having one-
developers. Steve, maybe you can answer
I know
that.
on Safeway, in that area, they're going to have extensive cameras. And then we need to, one of the things we're looking at budgeting for out on Grand Avenue then as well. But I'm not familiar with whether or not the Cordis Center has put any cameras in at this point or not.
Thank you.
So can we talk to the builder or developer to push the people or the tenants to install the cameras? What is the protocol on that?
We've had attempted to reach out to the owner at Cordis, and it's been challenging. Safeway is, the Safeway Shea, they're very cooperative, but we've had a real challenge with the other property owner.
So I think we should talk to the builder or owner of the building again, that everyone is complying. Why you are not complying with this, right?
Yeah, it's up to, we can't make the property owner do it. We'll certainly reach out to him again.
Yeah, thank you. So anything else on, 10B again, district, I think Sarah is not here today.
Okay, I think that's going to be me.
Okay, go ahead.
They're done, they're in place, and they will be refreshed every year or so. So the district emergency plans are all squared away. The emergency response plans for this facility are moving forward just because it's an information gathering and information, how do I say this? What we're doing is we're gathering information from a lot of different sources, and then we're having to put that information into a single document. And it's just moving forward like any other process does, because not everybody gives up information immediately. So we have to be persistent and stay after them, and that's being done.
So when do you think is ready to present to the board?
For the emergency response plan for this facility, I would say that you're probably looking more towards November or December. We've got, we're actually scheduling we've had a meeting just a couple of weeks ago, and we've got a checklist of things that we're gathering. And then we have another meeting in the next week or two to start looking at the actual master plan for the emergency response plan and sharpening that up. So it is, it has to go through several different hands before it gets to the point where it's going to be published.
Thank you. And 10C is illegal dumping. So do we see any stuff to be dropped at newer building areas like College Park, or do we get any reports?
I don't know of any extraordinary ones lately. I know we're, you know, out in Kelso and down in College Park, we continue to have some issues, right?
Right, those are still there, Kelso and off of Bethany Road, on the side of the road, it's still there. And I noticed a new one. I'm not too positive if it's our jurisdiction. You might be able to answer this, Steve. It's Wickland, just south of Bethany. It's the southbound lane, just off to the shoulder. It looked like there was a dumped motorhome there and trash.
On Wickland.
Yes.
I was just out there Monday. I don't know if I.
This is
noticed it.
recent, like within the last 2 days.
Okay, because I was out there Monday morning. I didn't see it. Wow.
This is
Yeah.
ongoing. Yeah, I don't know
Yeah.
how far we can go to fix this problem,
Right.
but this is, every city has these.
Yeah.
They were like, actually, city of Tracy people probably see mountains all open, the fields are here, so they come and dump, you know. That's good. Okay, so I'll ask fire department, one of the guys, please come here. And weed abatement, you know, but we got rain now, luckily.
If it ever rains, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening. My apologies, Chief Cornelson's not able to make it today, so I'm stepping in. My name is Robert Sickman, I'm a captain here at the French Camp Fire. Sounds like we're going to be talking about the weed abatement process, and you know, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. As of right now, we don't have any active enforcement going on, so that's good news, which means that all of the letters that we sent out a few months back, at some point, the owners complied and either took care of the weeds themselves. You know, as far as the whole process goes, I don't know if you guys needed like explanation as for how we do it. You know, I spoke to our prevention officer, and he kind of gave me a rundown on the entire process. You know, I was already mostly familiar, but if you guys have any questions on that. Yeah. So first what we do is we go, we have a prevention officer. His name's Jonathan Herskow. He's a captain as well. He is in charge of basically, making sure that the community is safe in regards to fire prevention. So we have a weed abatement program. We have our on-duty staff go around. It's split up between the crews, and we try to find lots or areas within the neighborhood, different neighborhoods that happen to have any fire hazards or out of control weeds or anything that's up to a building, any private area that butts up to public right of way. So anything from the roadway or up to one of your commercial establishments. And so what we do is when we find those weeds that are out of control, usually in the springtime before it gets to be the summertime, we send out letters to the addresses to the owners of the property and letting them know that the weeds need to be mowed or removed. And they have 14 days to either get rid of the weeds or challenge with a letter. If after 14 days they don't take care of the issue, we would then send a second letter, and then that one has another 2-week period. And after that, if nothing happens, the county can actually step in and remove the weeds themselves, and then there'd be a lien on the property. They'd have to pay back whatever the cost was. So that's pretty much how it goes. So as for right now, talking to our prevention guy says that there's no active enforcement. Sounds like everyone complied, and we got some rain, so that is some good news. So if anyone has any questions. No? All right. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So did you see any of the developers or property owners who don't listen to you guys?
Usually they're pretty compliant, you know,
Okay.
yeah, they handle it most of the time with the letter. I mean, there has been in the past, but for the most part, they listen pretty well, so it's good.
Again, I would like to announce there's a Pancake Breakfast
Yes.
event coming up. Maybe you can explain. And
October 15th.
so we need support from everyone to make this successful because last year was very good.
Yeah, so our prevention week is it's a national fire prevention week, which is every year in North America. It's been going on to this is actually the 100-year anniversary. So we kind of tie our pancake breakfast together with fire prevention week. We go to the schools ahead of time. We've already done. We only have one school left. Prevention assemblies for the first through third graders, and we let them know a little bit about fire safety. We're going to hand out some items that the teachers are going to give the kids for one day each week to kind of keep the fire prevention theme in mind. And we hold an art contest. The winner of the art contest receives a PlayStation 5 this year, so pretty big prize. So whoever has the best one, and at our pancake breakfast, we're going to have the finalists from each school. Their artwork will be on display. It's October 15th is our pancake breakfast. It's from 7 a.m. to noon. Come out and get some pancakes. It's a good time. We also have a little spot for the kids to go through a little course. Put on a little fire turnouts and spray some water. And there are a few other things. We have a raffle, prizes, silent auction, I believe. Yeah, if anyone wants to come out, like make sure you're there. And then we're also accepting any sort of donations for the raffle as well. We have a little 501 form if you need for our tax ID. So.
Okay, last year, I had a question from public that the fund is raised on Pancake Breakfast. Does it spend on Mountain House community or French Camp community also? French Camp, because
Yeah, it
stays in Mountain House.
and then we have a separate one. We have a separate one for French Camp as well. So that's
Yeah.
how we actually split the two.
Yeah.
But it actually goes through our association. So it's through the firefighters.
Yeah,
Association.
a couple residents were asking, where does money, do you have all the records for
Yeah,
those?
we do have records for all the stuff that we purchased. I don't have that on.
Yeah, no, just so I can answer people that this is spent here in Mountain House, not because they think you guys are contracted from French Camp.
Right.
Yeah,
Most of it goes towards, things to help us improve. Gym equipment is stuff we've used it on in the past. Other tools and whatnot that the district doesn't cover, that would be nice for, operational use. We've used money from that as well.
Yeah.
So.
thank you.
Yeah.
So any other questions before we move to cameras?
Just was going to mention that on the weed abatement, we've got one of the properties that's always the slowest to do their work. They need their map extended and so, for a couple more years. So we've made it clear to them that they're going to have to make some promises that they will be prompt on their weed abatement in the future, or we're not going to be recommending approval of their extension of their map. So I think it's probably the worst abuser in town. So I think that will take care of a good chunk of our issues down in College Park.
So camera update, you guys?
We should have an updated amended agreement coming from Flock, hopefully this week, if not early next week, and then we'll be forwarding it on to the general manager for his action. It'll be a total of about 12 additional license plate reader cameras. So it'll cover every point of ingress and egress into Mountain House. So if there is an incident or a crime, we should have the license plate of the car, or at least a picture of the car.
So these cameras gave very good result. It's been very successful. And as population increases, I think we need to expand and probably if we have funds available, we can expand more cameras like.
Absolutely. One of the things that Steve has asked me to do is with Roger and the sheriff's office and Rank is to develop basically a master plan for the cameras that is, as you grow, we look at where we want to add some additional cameras. The technology is improving. we can actually merge. We haven't done it yet, but we will in the next few months on an experimental basis. You can merge the two camera systems so that you can do an overlay of the surveillance cameras onto the flock system and have both images appear on the same screen. So you will have one of the, honestly, you probably already have one of the best camera systems in the county. And when we're done with the LPR cameras, you will have the best system in the county.
Yeah. Down the line, we have to keep them updated, you know. That's what the agreement with the camera company was to, if some upgrade comes in, right, they will offer us the upgrades. Or if they're free available, they'll do it for us, right?
Right. Yeah, there's getting to be a lot more capabilities.
Yeah, a lot more capabilities. On the surveillance side, Danny was saying a couple months ago, they're supposed to be doing a new release of some software improvements that will enhance the analytics on the cameras that we have now. Because the limiting factor now on the surveillance cameras is the lack of the fiber network. So all the analytics, it has to be done on the server that's part of the camera, as opposed to it coming onto a central server and being able to do the analytics on that server. The software update is supposed to allow an increased amount of analytics on the remote center or remote server.
So you don't have to upgrade the camera because now it's going to be able to tie in better to the cloud, right?
Correct.
Mhm.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, sometimes there's software and sometimes there's vaporware.
Right. And just remember, the flock is the LPR cameras, which are simply the ones that do the license plate reading coming in out of town. And we needed more because it's much more accurate if you have cameras both entry and exit out of the community. The Vigilon cameras are the surveillance cameras that we have in the balance of the community. And the goal there is to improve their analytics so they can figure more things out so that, you know, the minute you walk into a park and things like that, people know.
Yeah, the other potential for an enhancement on the Vigilon cameras is we can actually, for a fee, bring that image into the flock system, and it'll read the license plates off the Vigilon cameras. So it'll give us, in addition to having the potential to identify cars by license plate in and out, you could also do it internally, because most of the Vigilon cameras are more internal to the community as opposed to the perimeter.
Alrighty. So anything else, Mr. Kiss, Roger?
I have nothing else to add, Director.
Okay, future meetings. Chris?
I'm going to send it right back to you, Director Dillon.
I think I like this meeting.
You're liking the live meetings.
Yeah.
So let's survey the committee and see what their thoughts are, I suppose.
Okay. Yeah, we'll send out email, see if we can do like alternative ones, or, you know, I think now the people all the companies in Bay Area, they start calling people to work every day from the offices. You know that, right? So Zoom is good too, but you know, if you want to get the actual work done, it's one-on-one, you know. The food is the things to, you know, bring the people. Without food, people don't come.
Yeah, if any of the committee members would like to make comments, push the button so the red light comes on, and go ahead and I know we're teasing each other right now, but I really think that it's up to the committee to come to a consensus. If you want to meet live, then meeting live can be done. If you want to do a hybrid, as we're doing tonight, that's entirely up to the committee. Whatever your desire is we'll do our best to make it happen.
Item 11, new topics.
I would suggest that you guys make up your mind tonight regarding October, though.
Yeah, I was gonna say I vote for alternate meetings and one live, one online.
if you're voting.
Okay, so then something along the lines of odd months would be in person and even months would be online? That would,
That should work. Um, I can only suggest one more, that if whenever we have in person, we should also have it online as an option.
do a hybrid meeting.
Kind of hybrid, because
Sure.
nowadays 6 o'clock, 6:30, people do commute from the Bay Area. So if, in case they get stuck and all, so that's always a good option to have. So maybe just few members might be online, but having that option is good.
Open committee comments. Item number 12.
I guess I'll go first. It's a comment. I think I want to shout out for Roger. Ever since, Roger, you came on board, I think things have kind of this excitement with Neighborhood Watch program really blossoming. And I think all the consultations that we've had educate us on that thing is going really well. So I think I need to acknowledge that and appreciate your services for that, Roger.
Thank you. I
Again,
think it's
our
an easy job for me. I enjoy talking to people.
Yeah,
so.
team is good. GM Steve is doing great work, you know, all over in the town. Roger, you did awesome work. Again, Chris, Charlie, most experienced guy here in the board, in the room here, so always direct us to right direction. So like in the family, you know, one senior elder, you know, do the beatings.
He's calling you old.
Yeah. Reality is reality, man. Okay. Any staff?
No comments?
None.
No, I think we've covered everything.
Okay. So before we adjourn, so whosoever not taken dinner, there's still a lot of food there, or you want to eat second time, I think there should be, we can make a second round, right? So time is about what, 7:50, and Thursday, September 22nd, I hereby adjourn this meeting. And thank you very much for participating today, and see you guys next month. Second last Thursday of October. Yeah.